everybody, welcome to the lecture for video of Python for Data Science. I am Dr. Dilek Celik. In this video, we are going to be covering Python data structures, and the specific focus of this video will be building data structures. We will be looking at lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So this is an agenda for this video. Data structures are a way of organizing and storing data so that they can be accessed and worked with easily and efficiently. And there are different data structures available in Python, and each data structure provides a particular way of organizing data so that it can be accessed efficiently depending on the use case. And the data structures and algorithms have been called the heart of the computer science. And both that data structures and algorithms are interrelated and complement to each other. So for example, an algorithm applies to particular data structure, and while using the right structure helps to drastically improve the performance of an algorithm. Therefore, the data structures and algorithms are interrelated. And we can mention two categories of data structures in Python. So the first one is the built-in data structures. The other one is the user-defined data structures. And built-in data structures are basically the ones that comes by default by the programming language. So for example, in Python, lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets are some of the built-in data structures. And there are also user-defined data structures, and they are classes in object-oriented programming that are designed for a particular task. And the user-defined data structures holds its own data members and the member functions, which can be accessed and used by creating an instance of that class. And in this video, we are going to focus on building data structures, and we will start with lists. And the list is basically an ordered sequence of items. And we define the list with the square brackets, as you can see here. And when you want to define a list, and basically you need to give a name to your list, then equal to square brackets. And basically this will create you an empty list. Yes, the empty list is created using an empty pair of square brackets, as you can see in this example here. And lists can include different types of data. So you can, the strings, integers, floats, numbers can be an element of the list. So now we are going to be looking at how we can create a list. So let's look at this example here, the first example. This is how you can create an empty list. I think we already looked at it here, in the previous slide. So you have to define, you need to give a variable, right? You need to define a variable, then it equals to square brackets, as you can see here. So therefore, this will create you an empty list. And it is possible that you can create a list with the integers. So just look at this example here, which is list B. And as you can see, the elements of this list are the integers. And it is also possible that you can create a list with mixed data types. And in this list, as you can see, which is list C, and the elements are different data types. So we have integer, we have string, and we have float. And to be able to print the element of your list, we basically use a print function, as you can see here. When you say print, then put the name of your list here, then close the parentheses. This will print you your list basically. When you run this piece of code here, and those are the results you will get. So in the first place, it creates an empty list for us. Then the second one gets us the list B, which is the integers. Its elements are the integers. The final one, as you can see here, we have the list C with its mixed data type. So this is how you can print your lists, the elements of your list. So we can access an element of a list by using the index. And an index is used to access any element in the list. And in Python, so indexing starts from 0, right? So let's look at this example here, guys. We have an example here, and as you can see, we have been provided a simple list, and it is data. It is elements comprised of different data types. There is a number, there is a string, float number, another string, and boolean, right? Those are the elements of this list. So as you can see, all of them are inserted here. And the length of this list is 5, as it has 5 elements, as there are 5 elements in this list. So as mentioned, guys, the indexing starts from 0, right? Those are the index number of each element in the list. And indexing starts from left to right. So the first element is 0, the second one is 1, and the next one is 2, and it goes so on. So the index of a list ranges from 0 to n minus 1. So n here is the number of elements in the list. As the number of elements in this list is 5, therefore the range of this list is 0 to 4, right? And so it is possible that you can access any element of this list using this index number. So we will look at this example here. As you can see, what you need to do is that you need to put the name of your list, then with the square brackets, right? With the square brackets as presented here, you have to put the index number. So basically this will go and return the element whose index value is 3. So when we look at here, guys, so the element with index number 3 is Python, and therefore this will print as Python. So this is basically how we can access any element of a list using the index. So when you run this piece of code and this is the result you will get, just to note that the only integers are used for indexing. So we will look at nested list now. List can contain other lists inside it, right? And we basically call them as nested lists. So let's look at this example here. We have a list defined here, and it has different items, different elements in it. So the first one is a string, then there is a list here, and there is another list inside this list as well. And finally, we have another list. So therefore, the list can contain other lists inside it. So we call this as nested list. And we can print this nested list elements using the print function when you run this piece of code here, and this is the result you will get. So the nested lists are also accessed using the nested indexing. So this might be a little bit confusing. So because what does the square brackets mean, a list or index, right? It might be a little bit confusing, but the context solves the problem. So index always comes at the end and preceded by something, a variable or sequence. So we will be looking at an example here. We have our nested list here, then we have, as you can see, it has different elements in it. So the first one is a string, then there is a list inside this, then finally we have another list in this list. So when we want to go and do the indexing for this list, so the index value for the apple, the first element is 0, right? An index value for this list is 1, and index value for the last item here is 2, right? So those are the index of the nested list here. And as you know that there is another list here, so we will start indexing for this one from the beginning as well. So the index number for the 6 is 0, the index number for this list is 1, and index number for this item here is 2, as this is another list, right? So when you want to access any elements of the list inside your list, basically you have to, in this case, you have to indicate uh, two index numbers. So for example, let's look at this example here, guys. The print nested list, square brackets, then 1. So basically 1 here is the list itself. So it will return this entire list, right? And when we look at the second example here, prints nested list 1. So the nested list 1 will return you the whole list here. However, we have another index number, which is 2, and therefore it will get the list first, then it will go and get the element with index number 2 inside this list. So as the 30 is the value with index number 2, therefore this will return us 30. And when you run this piece of code, and those are the results you will get. As you can see, the first one printed out the whole list with the index number 1, and the second one returned 30 as the index value of 30 is 2, right? And when you want to access the third list inside this list, and you have to start indexing from 0, 1, and 2, and you have to have another square bracket and with the number, with the index number in it, right, to be able to access any element inside this. So this is how you can access the element in a nested list. So in Python, it is possible to use negative indexing with lists. The index of -1 refers to the last item, and -2 to the second last item, and so on. So let's look at this example here. We have a list comprised of different letters, as you can see. And when we make a positive indexing, we start from 0 and it goes from left to right. However, in negative indexing, as you can see here, we start from the end, from the last item, and we start from -1. We don't start from 0, but we start from -1. So let's look at this example here. We have my list, square brackets, and -1. And basically, as the -1 is the index number for the O here, right? Therefore, this will return O for us. And when we look at another example here, -2, and the value, the element with the index number -2 is L, therefore this will print us L. And when you run this piece of code, and those are the results you will get, as you can see. Yes, the lists are mutable. This is one of the distinct features of the lists. So they are mutable. It means that their content can be changed. So once you define your list, it is possible that you can change the content of your list. So let's look at this example here. We have given a list here that comprise of different integers, right? Those are the values of integers. And when you wanna change any value of your list, you use the indexing, right? So as you know that the indexing starts from 1, 0, 1, and 2. So my list 0 means that the first element in the list, right? And therefore, this piece of code here will replace the first element with 125. And when you print this here, it will return you the new list with the new elements, right? So when you run this piece of code here, and as you can see, the first element in the list is changed with 125. So this is how you can change a specific element in your list. So in Python, it is possible that you can iterate through the elements of a list with a for loop. And how we can do this is that let's look at this example to understand this. we have given a list here, which is chemical list, and it is elements are different strings, right? The different elements, the oxygen, the gold, some precious metals, right? So to be able to iterate through the elements, we have to set a for loop. For an I, as you know that this is a variable, it can be anything, then in chemical list. So the name of your list here, and at the end you have to put the column, yeah. And when you, in each iteration, this prints out the element, right, in each element. So therefore, guys, in each iteration, it will get one of the element and it will print it here. In the first iteration, it will print oxygen. In the second iteration, it will print gold. In the third iteration, it will print potassium, and so on. And when you run this piece of code, and these are the results you will get. So therefore, guys, you can iterate over the elements of a list using the for loop in this way. So now we will be looking at some methods that can be used with lists. And you can access all the list methods using list.method pattern here. So now we will be looking at some of the methods that which are used with the lists. And we have given a list here. My list, it comprised of different countries. So its elements are different countries, as you can see here: England, America, Canada, Turkey, Japan, you know. And now in the first example here, we would like to return the land of a list, right? So let's assume that you have a really long list and you want to learn the length of list, how many items involved in your list. And for this one, basically you use the len function, len method. Then here you need to insert the name of your list. So in here, as you can see, print len my list, which is the name of my list here, right? And therefore this will return to me the list, the length of my list. So as you can see, I think it is 7, therefore this will return as 7. And we already covered this, and we already know that how to print the content of a list. We basically use a print statement to print the content of a list. And when you run this piece of code, the first one will bring you the 7, as the 7 is the number of the number of the elements in your list, and the second print function will return us the entire list, the content of a list. So let's learn about some other list methods. So we have given the same list here. The countries are the elements for this list. And when you want to add any item, any new element to your list, basically you use an append method. So how you can use this is that you have to put the name of your list, then dot append. And then inside the parentheses, you have to put the element that you wanna put into your list. And in this case, Germany is the element and it will be added to the end of this list. So append method basically puts the element to the end of the list. And here the list is printed. When you run this piece of code, and this is the result you will get, as you can see, the Germany is added to this list as an element. So basically you can use the append method to insert any item, to insert any element to your list. So, okay, you may ask that, okay, how about if I wanna put the item and element to a specific location? And to do that, guys, you can use the insert method. An insert method allows you to add the element to a specific location with indexing. So in this case, what you need to do is that the name of your list dot insert. Then here, guys, you have to define the index number. So the place where you want to put your element, right? The name of the element here, then index number should come here. So as you can see, the index number for Spain is 1. So therefore, we want to put it to the place where the index number is 1. So therefore, this will come after the England here. And when we print this list, this name list, and this is the result you will get. As you can see, the Spain is inserted to the place where the index number equals to 1, right? And we have Germany at the end. So yes, we have list here, guys. Now we will be looking at how we can sort a list and how we can reverse the list. So this is our list. Now we want to sort the list in an ascending order. And to sort the list in an ascending order, basically we use a sort function, sort method here. And once you apply this method to your list, then when you print your list, and you will see that your list is sorted in an ascending order. When you want to put it in a descending order, basically you need to reverse the list which is already sorted. And to do that, you basically use reverse method here. As you can see, the name of your list that reverse, an application of this method will be reversing your list. And then you can print your list. And when you run this piece of code here, basically this is the result you will get. As you can see, my list is in an ascending order in this case, and now it is in a descending order. This is how you can sort and reverse your list. So yes, it is also possible that we can return the number of occurrences of an element of a list. So for example, when you want to learn how many times an England is repeated in my list. And to do that, basically we use the count method. When you write my list, the name of your list that count, and inside the parentheses, you have to give the name of the element, and basically this will return you the number of the occurrence of the number of occurrence of that element, and therefore this will return as 1, as the England is placed just 1 time in my list. So it is also possible that you can reach an index number of any elements on your list. And for this one, you need to use index method. As you can see here, the name of your list dot index, and you have to put the element inside the parentheses here. And in this case, it will return you the index number of this element. As the indexing starts from 0, let's see what is the index of Turkey here. Therefore, this will return us 3. So if you try to find the index of any element which doesn't exist on your list, and this will raise an error. So for example, when you try to find an index number of Brazil here, as we don't have this country in this list, this will raise an error. And yes, when you run this piece of code and those are the results you will get, the count of the England in this list is the 1. And this, the second one basically prints the index of this element, which is Turkey, right? And it is, we already figured out that it is 3. So it is possible that you can clear a list and you can remove all its elements. How we can do this is that basically we use a clear method for this one. When you say my list, the name of your list, then the dot clear. So this is a method that you can apply to clear all its elements. Then when you print it, basically it will return you an empty list as all the items are removed from this list. It is also possible that you can delete entire list. Just look at this example here, and we use the function, the method to delete the element, delete the entire list, right? This is how you can do this one. And after deleting your list, when you want to try to print your list, it will raise an error. It's because this list is no longer exist, right? And when you run this piece of code, it will return an empty list for the first print. And it will return an error if you run this piece of code here. It will return an error uh, as this list no longer exists. And there are some specific methods that can be used with the list that contain only numeric values. And let's look at this example here. We have given a list that comprises of different integers, right? Different numbers. And it is possible that we can learn the minimum, maximum values in this list, and also we can learn the sum of the list items. And to do that, first of all, we can use the min method to learn the minimum element in this list. So basically, this will return us 11, and the maximum will return us 400, as the 400 is the maximum element in this list, and the sum method here will return you the sum of the elements in your list. So when you run this piece of code, and those are the results you will get. So for a complete set of list methods, you can check this. Website provided here. Another thing that I would like to mention in this video is the list comprehensions. And the list comprehensions basically provide a concise ways to create the lists. And the common applications are to make a new list where each element is a result of some operations applied to each member of another sequence or iterable, or to create a subsequence of those elements that satisfy a certain condition. So basically, guys, you can create a list. With the result of some operations. Let's look at this example here. This is an example of creating a list using the for loop. In here, guys, basically, we defined an empty list at the beginning. Its name is even, and then we set the for loop here. For I in range of 1 to 10. And in each iteration, we add this value to this list here. We're using the append method, right? So in the first iteration, basically we will have I value, then we have I multiplied by 2, and finally we will have our list, right? Even list. In the first iteration, the I value will be 1, and this value will equal to 2. 1 multiplied by 2 equals to 2. Then my list will contain 2 as a elements in the first iteration. In the second iteration, I will become 2, then this value will become 4, and my list will become like that. In the third iteration, I will be 3, and I multiplied by 2 will be 6, and my list will be 2, 4, and 6. So it will go through all these iterations until the I becomes to 10. And when it becomes to 10, the for loop will end. Then the final list will be printed here. And when you run this piece of code, and basically this is the results. This is the results you will get, right? This is how you can create a list using the for loop. And we have given another example using the list comprehension here. Let's look at this one. In this case, the list is created using a for loop, but in this case, it is in a one line, right? So this is the value that will be added to this list. And then we have a for I in range of 1 to 10. So it will go through all, it will go through the same steps, then it will add the values to the even in each iteration. And then finally, it will print us the final list here, as you can see. We will get the same, list in both of the operations here. So let's look at this example. This is another list comprehension. We have been provided a name of the list, which is this similar pairs, and we have X and Y values. And basically, this will be the elements. This will be the element of this list. And then we have been provided two for loops. So, and each of them iterates through a list, as you can see here, right? And finally, we have a condition here. So basically, if this condition is provided, if this condition is true, the XY pair will be added to this list. So let's look at it. Let's look at it, guys. We have XY pairs, right? We have X and Y, and finally we have a condition. Then we will have our list. So let's look at it one by one. In the first place, the X value equals to 1. It will go and get the first value in the first iteration. For the first loop, it will get the first value in this list. So the X will be 1 in the first iteration. Then it will go and enter to the second loop here, second for loop, and it will get the Y value which equals to 3. And it will check it here, X is not equal to Y, and that's true, that condition is provided, and then the list, these pairs will be added to this list here, right? 1 and 3, XY pairs. In the second iteration for the Y loop, so X is still 1, and the Y will become 1, and X is not equal to Y, so this is false because X equals to Y here, and therefore this pairs will not be added to this list. In the third iteration for the for loop, X is still 1, and Y will become 4. X is not equal to Y, that's true, and therefore this pair will be added to my list. The first one was 1 and 3, and the second one will be 1 and 4. So the first iteration will be completed for X. For the first loop here, right? Let's call this as first loop, and this is the second loop. Now it will go and get the second value for the X, which is 2. Then it will go and get the values of the Y. In the first iteration, Y equals to 3, and X is not equal to 3, X is not equal to Y, that's true. Then this pair will be added to this list here, right? And it continues so on. And when you run this piece of code, and this is the results you will get, right? It will go through all these iterations, then it will add the X and Y pairs to this list as in the condition where X is not equal to Y. So this is how this system works, how this line of code will work. Yes, this is the end of the list. Now we will be focusing on tuples, and the tuples is another data structures available in Python, and the tuples are simply the immutable lists. So as you remember, guys, the mutable means that the data, the content of the list can be changed, but in tuples, the content of the tuples cannot be changed. So therefore, they are defined tuples simply as immutable lists. And to define the tuples, we basically use curly parentheses. So let's look at this example here. We have a name of the tuple T1, then we have different elements for this tuple indicated with curly parentheses. And this is how you can print the list, the element of your tuple. And when you run this piece of code here, and this is the tuple you will get, right? So it is that much simple to define a tuple and to print the element of the tuples. So it is also possible that you can define the tuple without surrounding parentheses, as you can see in this example here. And we have defined another tuple here, and its elements are 1, 2, 3. And this is how we can print the element of this tuple. And when you run this piece of code, and this is the result you will get, again, it is possible that you can define the tuple without surrounding parentheses, although often parentheses are necessary anyway. The tuple may contain items of different data types like the list. So it can include strings, integers, or the tuples itself as well. And you can, when you print this one, and basically this will print you your tuple. So again, it is possible that you can include different data types in your tuple. Although immutable, tuples may contain mutable objects such as the lists. Just look at this example here, guys. And as you can see, we have a tuple here, but we have a list inside this tuple. And the list is mutable. However, the tuple is immutable. So its objects cannot be changed. And when you run this piece of code, and this is the tuple you will get. So let's look at how we can create an empty and single value tuples. And to create an empty tuple, what we need to do is that basically you need to define a name for your tuple. Then it should equal to empty curly parentheses. And basically this will create you an empty tuple. And it is possible that you can create a tuple for a single value. And how we can do this is that this is the name of my tuple that equals to one element, right? So this is how you can create a tuple with a single value. And the comma here is needed to distinguish between a tuple and the value surrounded by the parentheses. And when you run this piece of code here, the first one will print you an empty tuple. The second one will print you the tuple with a single value. And when we wanna learn if whether the top 2 is a real tuple, and we can check it with the type, right? And when you go and run this piece of code here, basically this will tell you the type of this variable. So basically it is a tuple, right? So it is possible that you can create a tuple with a single value. So in tuple, we can pack and unpack the items, the elements of the tuple. In packing, we place the value into a new tuple. So for example, this is the tuple name, and those are the values that we want to place into this new tuple. And this is called as tuple packing. And when you print this, and basically it will print you the list of the elements in your tuple. It is also possible that we can unpack the tuple. In unpacking, we extract those values back into variables. And how we can do this is that you can define different variables, and this should equal to your tuple, and therefore the values of this tuple will be assigned to these variables. So when you want to print the company or and the activity here, basically it will print the values that you have defined at the beginning here, right? So this is what tuple packing and unpacking is about. So why tuples? Actually, the question is why do we need immutable list, as we can't change the content of the tuples. And basically, immutable list, the tuples, gives you a data structure with some integrity, some permanentness of its content. And you know that you can't change accidentally, you cannot accidentally change any item of your tuples. So it provides permanentness of its content. So let's look at some differences between lists and tuples. All the methods that works with the list works with the tuple, except the methods that modify the tuple. So since the tuples are immutable, right? So for example, the len prints, the indexing as well, those are all work for the tuples as expected. However, none of the mutable methods doesn't work with the tuples, such as the append, extend, delete of an element. So it's not possible that you can use those methods with the tuples. However, guys, it is possible that you can delete an entire tuple. You can't delete the element of basically you can't clear the element of the tuple, but you can delete your entire tuple, your whole tuple. So let's look at this example here. We have been provided a tuple, my tuple, that it comprised of different data types, the string and some integers here. And this is how we can access the element of my tuple. And here we have, this is how we can delete the entire tuple. And when you want to print your tuple again, this will raise an error. So when you run this piece of code, the first one will print you the element, the content of your tuple. But the second one, when you run this piece of code, this will gives you an error. It is because my tuple is not, it doesn't no longer exist. So therefore it will give you, it will raise an error. So yes, another data types in Python is sets. A set is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. So yes, this is one of the distinct characteristics of the sets. There is no duplicated elements in the sets. And the sets are written with curly brackets. So to define the sets, we use the curly brackets. The elements in a set can be objects of different types. So it can be strings, it can be integers or floats. So different data types can be an element of the sets. And to give an example, basic use of the sets, so this includes the membership testing, right? Membership testing or eliminating duplicate entries can be a use case for the sets. And set can also be used to perform mathematical operations on sets such as union, intersections, or difference. And to create a set without any elements, we use a set function without any argument. So this will create us an empty set. So let's look at some use case of the sets here, how we can create a sets, right? In this example, as you can see, we have a variable name, which is the name for my set. And we have to use the curly brackets here. Then you have to insert an element of your set. And this is using the print function, you can print the content of your set. And when you run this piece of code, and this is the result you will get, as you can see, you will get the result with the curly brackets here. So to create another set, to create another empty set, basically you can use a set method here, and this will create an empty set for you. It is also possible that you can create a set from a list using the set methods. How to do this is that, let's look at this example here. We have another variable name for another set, and you have to use the set function here. Then you have to insert your list inside this set method, right? And basically this will make this list a set for you. And when you print this set, basically what will happen is that as there are some items repeated, some duplicated items such as the B, we have 2 times B here, and it will remove as it becomes sets, one of them will be removed from this list. So this is the main differences between the lists and the sets. You can't have duplicated items in your list. As you can see, guys, this is the final list. This is the final sets for us. The duplicated items are removed from this sets. So yes, this is how you can create a set from the list. And it is also possible that you can create an empty set. This is how you can do this. You can use just the curly brackets to create an empty set here. And when you print this set, and basically it will print you an empty curly brackets. Let's look at some set methods here. So we have given a set here. Its name is fruits, and it comprises of the fruits, the name of the fruits, right? We have 2 apple, which is duplicated item. And when you want to print the element, the content of this sets, basically this will remove the duplicated items, right? It will remove one of them, and it will only show you the unique elements. It's also possible that we can check the membership. We can check if any element is the member of the existing set. And to do this, we use the in here, right? So first of all, you have to define the element that you want to check, that you want to test if it exists in this set. Then you have to define. You have to put the name of the set here, and in this way, if this exists in this list, in this set, sorry, therefore it will tell you true. Otherwise, it will return you false. Yes, we have given another example here as well. We have cherry in fruits. Yes, this is also true. And when you run this piece of codes here, the first one will give you the content of the list, content of the set. As you can see, the apple was the duplicated item, and one of them is removed, right? It shows only unique elements. The second print returns true, and the third one also returns true, as the banana and cherry are the members of this set here. So this example demonstrates set operations on unique letters from 2 words. And we have given 2 words here. The word one is this one, abracadabra. As you can see, it comprises of several duplicated items, right? And the second one is also another string. It also has different duplicated items. And when you want to get the unique letters in the word one, and basically you can print it out as this is defined as the set. It will remove the duplicated items in the strings. And as you can see, it will only give you the unique items, the unique elements in the set. So word 1 minus word 2, this will give you the letters in the word 1, but not in word 2. So this will give you the letters in the word 1, but not in the word 2. Another method is the word 1 or word 2. Basically, it will give you the letters in either word 1 or word 2. As you can see, those are the letters it will give you for you. The other one is the word 1 and word 2. This will give you the letters in both word 1 and word 2, and A and C are the letters in both word 1 and word 2 on this example. And finally, we have another one, word 1 or word 2. This will give you the letters in word 1 or word 2, but not both of them. And as you can see, when you run this piece of code, and those are the results you will get. So basically, those are different operations on unique letters from two words. Yes, the final data structures in Python is dictionaries. Now we will be focusing on some dictionaries. A dictionary is an unordered set of key value pairs with the requirement that the keys are unique. Yes, in dictionaries, we have key and value pairs, and the keys are unique. It has to be unique. And the dictionaries are written with curly braces here. So curly braces is used to define the dictionaries, and there should be comma in between key value pairs, right? We can insert another key and also another value for this one. So it goes so on. So the curly braces are used to define the dictionaries, right? So the main operations on a dictionary are storing a value with a some key and extracting value given the key. It's also possible to delete a key value pair with the delete function in Python. If you store using a key that is already in use, the old value associated with that key will be forgotten. And it is an error to extract a value using a non-existing key. The values of dictionary can be any type, but the keys must be of an immutable data type, such as strings, numbers, or tuples. So now we will be looking at we will be looking at how it works with dictionaries. So this is how you can create a dictionary. So you have to give a name your dictionary, then you have to use curly braces, then you should have key and also value pairs with a column here. And another key and value pairs here as well. So this is how you can define a dictionary. It is possible that you can add a key value pair to the dictionary. This is how you can do this one. So you have to say, you have to give the name of your dictionary with the square brackets here, and you have to define your key, right? This is the key. Then you have to define your value here. You have to give the value for this key. And when you print this one, and as you will see here that, guys, and the Lisa will be added to your dictionary. It is also possible that you can access specific elements, the specific value with the key. For example, when you want to learn the number for the Melissa, and this is how you can access the value, the number for the Melissa, because the Melissa is the key, right? So to do that, you have to write the name of your dictionary, then square brackets, then you have to put your key here, then this will return you the value of this key, right? The value belongs to this key. So that in this case, it equals to 1122. It's also possible that you can delete the key value pair, and to do that, you can use del function here. And when you say delete, then the phone book, and when you need to define the key value here, right? And therefore, the John will be removed from your dictionary. It's also possible that you can update the value of an existing key. So for example, the Lisa is changed to number, and you want to change the number of you want to update the number of the Lisa with a new number. And it is possible that you can update this value. And to do that, guys, you can access to this value using the Lisa as a key, as you can see on this example here. Then you need to you need to assign the value that you wanna update the Lisa's value with. And when you print your dictionary at the ends, and those are the results you will get, as you can see. So in here, as we deleted the John, and John is no longer exists in our list, and the number for the Melissa was 1929, now it is changed to 8899. So those are some different methods that you can apply to your dictionaries. So it is possible that you can get the list of the keys in your dictionary. And to do that, basically what you need to do is that you can say list, then the name of your list dot keys, the name of your dictionaries dot keys. And this will return you the list of the keys in your list, in your dictionary. And when you run this piece of code here, basically this is the result you will get. And those are the some keys involved in the dictionary. It's also possible that you can sort the list of the keys. This is how you can do it. Basically, you need to use sorted method to sort the list of the keys. When you say sorted, then the phone book keys, the name of your dictionary, that keys, basically this will sort the list of the keys in your dictionary. It's also possible that you can sort the list of the values. And in this case, how you can access the values of your dictionary is that you need to use values method. So the name of your dictionary, that values, open the parentheses and close it, and therefore this will give you the list of your values by using the sorted method at the beginning of this method here, and this will basically give you the sorted list of the values for you. It is also possible that you can check if the key exists in your dictionary. So for example, when you want, if you want to check if the Lisa in your phone book, this is the name of your dictionary. If this is the case, it will return true, right? As the Lisa in this dictionary, it's returned true for us. You can also check if the Melissa are not in phone book. In this case, basically, it is checking if this key is not in your book. If this is true, if it is not in the dictionary, then it will return true. If it is not, then it will return. If it is not, it will return true. If it is, it will return false. In this case, it returned false for us. So this is the end of this video. Thanks for watching my video. If you haven't done so, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also please do like my videos and share them with your friends. Thanks for your support. See you in the next video.